If that's the case, the male lead will probably become even more interested. He immediately withdrew, found out, causing a few of them to become scared. Just like that, they slowly walked towards the dozens of thugs alone. Even though there were a large number, it seemed like their mood at this time was changing. Very wrong. Then something came to mind, so Lee JaHa had to think for a while. And he also took the sword back in his hand and put it away. Kill the gamblers in this overwhelming situation. Why should I use the noble apricot swordsmanship? At this point, Dong Fong Yian could no longer stand it. He must have ordered all his juniors to rush forward together to the council of Lee JaHa. Hearing the command, countless people ran up without thinking. It seems like the method to deal with this group will be martial arts. In the hands of the male lead has captured, his head clenched, his fist tightly, and a lot of internal energy was radiating out. Countless enemies approached him and pointed their sharp iron swords straight at his body. But his body had become extremely graceful and flexible. So there's no way they can do it all. Even when he fights, he also has stupid and senseless thoughts. Even though he was extremely poor since childhood, just hitting someone with his bare hands is enough to succeed. Just like that, a lot of thugs were punched without having time to do anything. Besides the guys using swords, there were also other guys using very strange-looking weapons. And it wasn't just the guys who used swords. Young people, but among them there are also old men who are greedy for money. In this matter, Lee JaHa does not care at all. Because he is Lee JaHa, the leader of the JaHa clan. Although the pace of the match was very fast, it seemed that the male lead was very lenient. He did not use his aura but only temporarily suppressed their fear. Knowing that this was the case, he became more and more, then the opponent becomes even more aggressive. So the plan has temporarily changed a bit. The male protagonist uses his internal strength and begins to radiate power and strikes so hard that the soldiers scream and fly away. Jumping dog. Those are just some of the hundreds of Mr. Yang Bok's subordinates who are waiting. Seeing that his juniors are doing so much harm, Dong Fong Yian had to personally take action. Everyone, please step back, but he considered me a bunch of useless people who couldn't help anything. After saying that, he started to move forward, making his subordinates become very confident. It seemed like they were the most prominent person in this arena. We all know all the familiar faces, how they fight and what their personalities are like. In the end, Lee JaHa had to pull out his sword. Sword in his hand. Because he knew that today he would have to personally kill a few people to set an example for the world. Some people began to fear when they saw the other person pull out a weapon. No waiting for them to attack, this time he proactively took the initiative. His eyes began to search around to find a few targets. The first one was an evil-faced demon, a brat. All day long, he only knows how to assault and rape others. Seeing that he was about to be in danger, the other guy took the initiative to turn around and run away. Then he also pulled out his knife and became confused as to why. Why did you attack me? But perhaps this was the last word he said in this world. Lee JaHa's sword swung out strongly and slashed towards his throat. The people nearby all swallowed their saliva out of fear. Even Dong Fong Yian didn't dare to say another word. The body of the evil demon had collapsed and his head was rolling. Tornado of blood and gore spewed everywhere. Now the murderous aura had begun to radiate on Lee JaHa's body. I understand that this guy won't be the last guy to die in this arena. All of you, please get out of my way so I can see for a moment. You too, please get out of the way. This bunch of useless people. As soon as they dodged, another target was already chosen. That squinty-eyed guy, come out here quickly. Knowing that his name was being called, I was startled and panicked. He was the smile of a man who was willing to kill his comrades for no reason at all. This guy began to think a little to see if there was anything wrong with him. Should he come out or not? Finally, to ensure his life's safety, he turned around and ran away. But things didn't just stop there. Picked up the dagger in Lee's hand. JaHa shot strongly towards his opponent. The force was so strong that it passed through his whole body and crashed straight into the wall, creating an extremely large crack. Perhaps today's arena is about to explode. Became another sea of blood. Seeing the scene of his juniors taking turns leading each other down to the golden stream, Dong Fong Yian's face wrinkled. He held a weapon in his hand and flew to Lee JaHa's place to attack. The force of the slash was so strong that he had to use his sword to block it. Then the two slashed each other frantically, going up and down continuously. And it wasn't just Dongfang. Yian also had a few more thugs behind him. They took advantage of the male lead not paying attention and used his sword to sneak attack. His body sensed it and jumped up really high. The opponent below is gradually feeling that the strength of the person above is already too formidable. Those who are not involved are still wide-eyed to continue contemplating. And there are also countless other Mr. Yang Bok's subordinates are bewilderedly looking at what the male protagonist will do next. In the air, he carefully observes the targets he needs to kill again. From the tip of the sword he captured his head radiated hot firepower. And from there his body became incredibly fiery. Countless spiritual energies were shot out all around the arena. Just looking at it made me feel very scared. Many screams rang out due to being burned. Lee JaHa immediately responded. The land was right at the position of strategist Pyong, an expert in dirty tricks. A quick sword strike passed through his neck. And this guy's head could no longer stay still. Blood continued to shoot out, creating a very gruesome scene. Perhaps Lee JaHa's madness was about to reach its climax. Just seeing this look made everyone go crazy. Who knows what will happen next? The people in the stands looked down with equally scared faces. Countless subordinates of the Gambling King did not dare to get close to Lee JaHa. Dongfang Yian, known as the undefeated god of war, is now helpless. After killing that strategist Pyong, he temporarily borrowed his fan for a bit. Maybe he'll think of it again. What are some more dances to prepare for the world to see? You stupid idiots are truly pitiful. And forget that I was also a pitiful person, right? Neither viewers nor those in the fight could understand how Lee JaHa was acting. Then he started doing a few moves to let both his opponents and viewers know his talent. A voice resounded, criticizing the group of opportunists who have existed for 30 years. I wonder what that crazy guy wants and why he sings like that. The black-haired guy grabbed it. Cards, then the white-haired man put the cards down again. Just like that, Lee JaHa's voice continuously hummed, implying that gambling only means losing but never winning. The saying that all the money he earned was burned. He kept chewing on everything. And there must have been money from the male lead in there too, so he seemed a bit regretful. Because his voice was so good, most of the audience had to sing along. Seeing this scene, the male lead's motivation was there and he continued to sing meaningless lyrics. What the hell are those crazy guys doing? Why are they singing like that? Not only the viewers but also Dongfang Yian's subordinates raised their voices. Then everyone who met them only received a look of contempt. If I no longer appear, then move on. Saying that I died because of gambling, because before coming here I saw a special card in front of my eyes. As he sang, he pointed straight and swept past all the thugs. In front of my eyes. In the stands, sentences like how good luck is and how much luck has come to me. Hitting the fan in my hand, an entertainment performance seemed to have happened. Ending. I wonder if Lee JaHa will dance or sing or kill. He looked straight at those unfortunate people and then spoke. As for today, your luck is the person has disappeared. After hearing this word, everyone understands that their life is no longer possible. This place will be closed after today, you idiots, don't come here anymore. I request all of you to officially stop betting here. Go home, you idiots. Lee JaHa's voice was so loud it seemed to remind everyone. Indeed, however, the entire audience above had to run quickly to catch up. Then he went to the old man's place to preach morality. Do you think that if all your subordinates attack at the same time, it will win me or what? What do you think now that the situation has become like this? After a bunch of idiots drank spring medicine and suffered defeat, someone like me finally appeared, isn't that new? That old man also responded, before coming here, I sent a letter to notify the Nanming Association. I wrote that there were saboteurs, so in the future, bribing them will be difficult. It's difficult, even though it's very concise. Maybe the Nanming Association will understand this. Because I've given them so much money over the past time. It's not just the owners. Speaking of which, Dongfang Yian also ran over to chat. You thought that if you made this place chaotic, all the money would go into your pocket, right? There is no such thing as a simple thing in this world. No matter how rashly you act, the dark side will block your way. That's why I'm content to live in a casino. Hey. Mr. Yang Bok also casually cursed the male lead for being a blind guy who doesn't understand what's going on. Maybe his mouth went a bit too far because of that statement. He slammed the fan into his hand. He swiped hard to create divine power. The position was headed straight towards the idiot Dongfang Yian. Even though he also sensed the danger and pulled out his sword, he could not defend against it. Just like that, the whole body was cut open, causing blood to splatter everywhere. Seeing his subordinates being murdered right before his eyes, the king was unable to do anything. Perhaps the next person to suffer the same fate would be him. He himself also understood. Okay, so I took the opportunity to say a few words before I died. It turned out to be JaHa's inn. It looked like this. Having said that, this guy immediately rushed straight towards the male lead to attack. It's unbelievable that I thought he didn't know martial arts but instead attacked with internal force. A loud explosion rang out and smoke and dust flew as soon as the two collided with each other. Not only that, but the competition floor has also been affected a lot. Everything seems to be falling apart when the male protagonist and the opponent are comparing internal attacks with each other. Hey old man, I thought you were the one. What a kind-hearted person. If you want this gambling escapades to last long, its owner must be very kind. Hearing these hidden words, the old man became frightened. House, who are you and why do you know my identity? I'm just a second child at an inn in Ilyang town. Mr. Yang Bok still doesn't understand anything, so he keeps mumbling the second child's name that the male lead just said. As for your side, then the great crystal absorption method appeared to prepare to ask for some internal energy to use. All the spiritual energy had invaded his body and was sucked straight towards him. He was screaming more and more in pain day by day. The pain all over my body felt like hundreds of ancient worms were biting me. Just at the sight of it, my whole body collapsed because all the effort I had put into practicing martial arts for many years had been lost. This was a moment, the best moment for Lee JaHa. Because he often has the habit of observing his opponent before sending him back to the Western paradise. Even though he had been like this, Mr. Yang Bok was still not afraid and just kept talking about the Nanming Association. Don't dance again, old man, because I already know, so there's no need to mention that group. After saying that, he also fell silent and was preparing to receive what a painful death. Does this kind old man, Mr. Yang Bok, want to deny anything else? Is it because your family doesn't need money, or why did he start making noise to prepare bribes? I told you that I didn't need it, you old bastard. As soon as I answered, you conveniently gave me a few slaps. It was so strong that my entire weak body fell to the ground and was bleeding. This amount of money to Lee JaHa is just fleeting. He started looking around and then spoke up to confirm. Everyone, listen clearly, this is my victory. JaHa is a guest. But inside the arena and the stands there was no one left. The male lead continued to make incomprehensible actions. What song were the humming sounds following? That continued, he groaned. Truly a crazy person with no cure. As he left, he continued to sing the song that he had thought of at that time. After that, he went to the place in front of him to hold up the torch. The black-haired one grabbed the card, the white-haired one put the card down again. All the money he earned was burned up. While he sang, he also made a fire. Just like that, Lee JaHa went around to light the whole place on fire. The money, wealth, and understanding of his relatives were all bare except for flying without wings. The corpse of Mr. Yang Bok had become burst into flames as soon as he threw the torch in. A familiar look appeared again as he felt a very satisfying scene. All the money he earned was burned up, only my money why? All the money and possessions of relatives have no legs or wings to fly away. Returning to the old familiar house, no one dared to secretly pick up all the money hidden in the closet and then go to the casino. Everyone in the neighborhood looks at me with contempt. If I no longer appear, please tell me that because I gambled, I died. Before coming here, I saw a special card in front of my eyes. Special. Luck has come today. Just keep singing and rambling like that. Then start another dance that Lee JaHa shows off. He dances crazy and also burning everywhere I went. Wherever I went, hot internal energy and fire radiated out. Just like that, inside this gambling arena, it was like a crematorium. One after a while, there was not a single place that was not burned. Just seeing this scene, Lee JaHa's expression became very satisfied. The power of this fire is so beautiful and devastating, how evil. If it could belong to me, how good would it be? With one hand I can catch all the stars in the night sky. I want to burn all those who only think about chasing me. My voice will echo wherever I go. Those who used swords to cut mountains and forests in half have also stayed at my feet. The boy called Tam Tai has punched me faces of experts, and that person is me. I'm babbling, but even if I'm crazy, I can feel the heat here. Sure enough, after a while of getting sick, it's time to calm down. Looking around, I realize all the things that happened. This place was all made by my own hands. By the time I get back, this place will probably have burned down. From outside there were screams because the fire looked so dangerous. When he heard those words, Lee JaHa's mind began to reshape. He quickly jumped up to check to see if anyone was still alive. Then the sound played, came out of the same room that I had been to before. As crazy as it was, I still couldn't forget the black and white beauty. The main male lead went straight inside and shouted loudly to see if he was still alive or not. But it seemed like he kept calling, but no one made any move. Then he took advantage of this moment and had to do a few dances to make it catch the object. Suddenly there were very small moans, causing him to pay attention again. The whole person kept moving slowly into the bed, and it turned out that two women were already lying here waiting. Everyone looked at each other's faces when they saw the man. They all seemed very hungry. A few people outside were also wandering around screaming because there was a fire. It's unclear whether Lee JaHa will handle this incident, or maybe he will. I lost my boyfriend's life right at the casino. Why are you looking at me like that? Isn't he very handsome? After listening to this, the spring medicine in Baek So-ah and Hyuk Soryong's bodies must be gone. Just like that, the two beauties fainted because of Lee JaHa's nonsense words. Outside, the fire broke out. The fire was so loud that the whole town knew about it. Soon everyone joined together to put out the fire. Inside, the male protagonist pulled the other two ladies up. He started to raise his voice and asked them not to cry anymore. If you don't want me to throw you two into the sea of fire, then shut your mouth. After listening, the song, Bak Beauty, fell silent. The innkeeper of Hell Inn has been destroyed. Dong Fong Yian is dead, everyone is dead and no one can escape. Besides them, many people have already died. If you don't want to go to heaven and open a gambling den with them, please answer me obediently. Me and Mr. Yang Bak made a deal with each other like men. If I win, then all the fighters, the innkeeper of Hell Inn, everything that belongs to him will be in my hands. I've sent him back to heaven, so I'm afraid I won't be able to bet there anymore. So please take a moment of silence for him. Go. What the hell is this situation where Lee JaHa is still in hot water and still manages to pull a trick? But these two were forced to do it, otherwise the male lead would have to pull out a knife. It's like so the beauties close their eyes until it's over and wait until the other person tells them to stop. Now that's okay, everyone, please open your eyes. The male lead looked carefully at the two pretty faces. That beauty then spoke in a very gentle voice. If it's like this, you guys will go to a better place, right? Of course it is, we will do what you ask. Suddenly Lee JaHa started to turn around and disagree again. If it's a scammer, even if it's just one of the two, you also have no right to go there. As he spoke, he made a very scary face. The women's whole bodies got goosebumps and they couldn't respond at all. And the male lead continued to start saying that his subordinates will be here tomorrow. So I asked the two of you to tell me all the locations of Mr. Yang Bak's hidden assets. Very good, please rest comfortably. If you dare to run away after the acupuncture point is removed, you will know for yourself. Try to imagine the ending I will give you. Baek So-ah nodded. Yes, but don't forget to talk about the situation right now. Isn't there a fire spreading over there? Now that I mention it, Lee JaHa planned to go put out the fire first. As long as you let us go, there's no need to do that. Shut up right now, because the only thing to do is put out the fire now. Let's give top priority. This bastard doesn't understand what's wrong with his nerves. Thinking of this, the male lead stood up, making the two beauties scared. But he didn't do anything but just went outside. His job now was definitely to clean up the mess he had caused. The fire had flared up so big it seemed like it was about to burn, rubbing everything. Just like that, the male lead slowly walked outside, leaving the surrounding people to frantically put out the fire. As he left, he mumbled a lot. "I guess I have to carefully find out where the gambling king lives." I quickly found my way inside that bad guy's hotel. He looked everywhere but couldn't find anything suspicious. Then a gate made of iron made the eyes stop. This thick iron gate is not suitable for a guest room at all, it's really obvious. Having said that, Lee JaHa kicked the head hard. The door. Its weight was so great that when it was just opened, it created a small vibration. Just like that, the male protagonist went inside to see if he could find anything. It seems like this place is just like any other place, nothing special. That guy lives a useless and boring life all day long, locking himself in here like a prison. On the surface, the old man's desk also had a half-written letter. Lee JaHa picked it up and checked to see what he was planning to do after he died. The original text inside was written: "The innkeeper of Hell Inn was attacked by a madman. He is very knowledgeable in martial arts and tricks and the rules of the game. Nanming Association has paid a lot of tribute for many years but has never asked for support yet. No." As he continued reading, he began to look around. Sure enough, there was another very sturdy iron door inside. Inside there also seemed to be a something. Then Lee JaHa had to find a way to see if he could open it or not. He flipped through all the drawers to find the key. But then there was something right in front of his eyes. Made me pay close attention. Sure enough, the inkstone on the table looked very suspicious. The male lead used a little force but couldn't move it. In the end, he had to take a transfer exam. A little internal effort to see if anything interesting could be opened. A few small vibrations rang out, making him a bit nervous. From then on, the door was successfully opened. He started his head slowly approached and pried it open. Before he could calm down, a force shot straight out from inside. Looking more closely, it was a hidden weapon that was definitely laced with a lot of poison. Medicine. What are you hiding to prepare these 3 ridiculous tricks? Lee JaHa checked again and found nothing dangerous, so he went inside and saw some strange objects. To be more sure, he had to use a small dagger. To check. Loud sounds of metal hitting each other. If you want to be more clear, you also need to use your eyesight to see for sure. But it seems like this object is not dangerous. Dangerous. Even though he didn't know what it was, Lee JaHa also guessed it was mysterious iron. After a while, he put it together and its shape looked like a sword. Maybe you guys are young. Swords made from profound iron. I don't understand how anyone could do it. Not to mention the crazy demon himself, but even the top experts who have fought, no one can do it like that. Then the thought of remembering my old master. When trust is broken, life will be over. At that time I didn't know what he said, but now I understand. Maybe the owner of this sword is a great master. When it breaks, its owner also passes away. If the trust in your heart is broken, there will certainly be no reason to live anymore. After encountering many incidents, my experience increased. Crazy monk's words made me gradually understand. After examining this strange weapon, he also looked at the book nearby. This is a secret martial art of the best great sword Uyang Muguk. It seems that Lee JaHa also knows the identity of the person who wrote this book. Uyang Muguk has competed with me 7 times but he never won, but he was very proud. I always calmly fought because I knew I would definitely win, but he wasn't like that. Uyang Muguk couldn't accept this, he didn't even know why. The reason for my failure. I understand the strong man's feelings very well, but I cannot tell Uyang Muguk that his ambition is too great, so he cannot help his martial arts advance. Until he speaks when asked about the reason for his failure. He replied that it was too late to change. Do you still care whether you learn martial arts early or late? But each person walks a different path, so we don't force anyone. When I told him that he should fight with other masters in this hidden world, that statement made him very surprised. I didn't want him to commit to the devil, but Uyang's heart Muguk could not keep up with his level of swordsmanship. It is natural that many people are like that in hiding. At the request of Uyang Muguk, who could not overcome, wrote with pity, I compiled the sword technique when fighting him again. And also hope that the next person will have the opportunity to use it properly, otherwise the ending will be very tragic like Memory Master. Read through. Lee JaHa thought these words were written by the inventor of Si Yao Gong. Competing 7 times with the talented creator of the invulnerable golden? In the end, how strong is Uyang Muguk? There are a total of 8 swordsmanship moves combined. I can already imitate the first 4 moves, as if I had learned them somewhere before. Number 1, number 2, number 3 is the long sword technique that releases the chi, the broken sword technique compresses the chi, and the 10,000 sword technique releases the sword that has not yet come out like a storm. The 4th move is the 10,000 sword technique, the secret technique of executing 3 moves before releasing the sword. Thinking of this, Lee JaHa knows that the last 4 moves are very difficult for even himself to grasp. The 5th move is the lightning sword technique that turns sword power into lightning wind. The 6th move is one sword. If you use a sword layered with 5 ultimate techniques like that, wouldn't it be easy to break the sword? If you can use the first 5 ultimate techniques without holding a sword, you will be able to learn. And finally, the same infinite form. In the book, it is written that when performing this form, the sword spirit and internal energy will explode at the same time in one moment. Just reading it, Lee JaHa understood that it was too wild, so he also drew out of words. For now, just ignore the last moves because there's nothing to continue. I'm a man, if I can't do it, just give up. There's no need why try to do things that no one else can do? Ouyang Muguk's swordsmanship is great, but he has been defeated by me 7 times. So am I the best in the world? The answer will be no, as I know there are other experts at the same level as me. Everyone must grow old and die. How can we be proud of being the best in the world? If we survive because we are longer than them when we only care about our health, how can we pat our chest and claim to be the best in the world, so that title is truly meaningless? We just need to travel the world meeting stronger masters and discussing martial arts, just like that is already very fun and happy. How can winning or losing be more fun than improving martial arts training? Martial arts are inherently must learn slowly and for a long time. Those who rush will face the fate of self-destruction like Ouyang Muguk. Those who want to gain strength in just a short period of time, that is the only path. Demonic path. Otherwise, you must become a strong knight and improve yourself day by day. No matter how strong the people in the Wanderer are, they cannot defeat a resilient knight. The male lead was drinking and thinking about the words in the book that made him confused. What was the reason? Is it his intention that the knight is stronger than all? Then their eyes turned around when they saw the pair of black and white sisters coming out of nowhere. But when they saw Lee JaHa, they also became panicked. Are you planning on running away? So both of them had to rush back and explain that they saw that the fire had gone out, so they went outside. Because they saw him being taciturn, they quickly knelt down to beg for his life. But their temperament may have changed at this time, so they allowed them to sit. And of course the first question is a very silly question. What do you think about knights? After listening, the 2 sisters couldn't understand each other anymore. But seeing each other's faces like this, they quickly thought of all kinds of things to respond. Since I was a child, I have learned that knights are very kind people. That's true, but it seems like they don't appear anymore these days. After listening, Lee JaHa asked both of them to pour themselves some wine to drink. You guys should drink the wine, it's great just watching the morning sunrise with me. Someone said you have to drink alcohol in a miserable situation to fully feel the scent of alcohol. From now on I will call you Black White Smile. The meaning of this name is to smile, so it's your duty to always smile and preach. Hearing these words, the 2 continued to look at each other and choose how to behave. Finally, in order to save my life, I accepted that nonsense title. I will meditate for a while waiting for my subordinates to arrive. Speaking of this, Lee JaHa continued to pull out the knife from his body and slammed it down on the table. Then he raised his voice and threatened, if you discover any loopholes, you guys should stab me. Surely the black and white beauty just wanted to die after hearing this. Not bothering to say anything else, Lee JaHa lay down and immediately fell asleep. The 2 sisters didn't know what to do anymore since they couldn't go and couldn't stay. Just by listening, he had to open your eyes to check if it's doing anything to you. Everyone, just go to sleep, we can't find any loopholes right now. Then your eyes close again and mumble something. That buzzing sound rang out again and again, it was crazy. I don't know how, but a moment later the 2 of us reminded Lee JaHa to wake up. I've been meditating for a long time, right? It's not just that he had enough sleep during the day. Indeed, one of the male protagonist's dreams was until morning. And of course his subordinates were also present very early in the morning. Confronting them are the people in this town. One person pointed out the culprit who burned down the gym is Lee JaHa. Do you mean the guy sitting in front of the corner table, is that right? Hearing these words, he reminded the two beauties to go play somewhere else so he could continue working. They both quickly ran away before they died unjustly. For dessert in the morning, the male lead took a sip of wine to calm him down. A representative came to him to inquire about his reputation. You are their leader, right? In response to his words, Lee JaHa only said that you still asked if you saw that. Without me having to invite him, he took the initiative to sit down. I am Nam Yeonpung of Nanming Association. And I am the leader of the Black Cat Union, the male protagonist replied. Do you mean Great Rakshasa's map? No, I'm the one who killed the Great Rakshasa. He continued to ask about Mr. Yang Bok and found out that Lee JaHa had already killed him. Did you know he was the one who bribed for our Nanming Association? Before he died, he also mentioned you guys. If so, then go directly to the Nanming Association and apologize to the guild master. If you don't want things to get worse, that's the only way. If you don't do so, you will have to face it's an all-out battle with us. It's not because of that bribe money, but you must directly explain why you killed him. The blade of the Nanming Association will not discriminate against the target. It's the demon path, the white path, the black path, it's all the same. Lee JaHa just calmly said that he should tell the guild master that he killed that guy just because he was playing a trick at gambling. And whether you invited him or not, he personally asked that guy to come to his place and invite him, and he had no right to be disrespectful to the leader of the Black Cat Union like that. I think that stupid apology had to come from your mouth, that's right. You really want to search this place to find something, right? As he said that, the male lead also pointed at the knife under the table, making his face become scared. What if the Nanming Association's guild master is quite strong? Because that's none of my business. So please go back and convey my words to the guild master. And stop talking nonsense to stupid people like you. After hearing that, he started to stand up and showed an attitude. Dissatisfied. Then he had to speak up to remind him of that behavior. Please come back here for me, Nam Yeonpung. He started looking back to see what the male lead would say next. But he only said a few sentences with the implication that he had saved his life. Nam Yeonpung still didn't understand what that sentence was, so he didn't bother to respond. Temporarily solved. After finishing this job, Lee JaHa went to find Mo Ying-baek to confide. I'm not sick at all, but today I came to bother you. You can come here anytime. Then he started his story. It seems like every time we meet again, he becomes stronger than before. There is no special problem, it was the same before, but compared to I'm more curious about what the master is thinking about my body. While I was fighting, I saw the fire flare up and then lost my soul for a moment. I almost burned to death. The more Mo Ying-baek talked, the more curious he became and wanted the male lead to tell in detail. I used to have a hotel named after me, but it was burned down by someone else. My mood at that time, it's so vague until I realized that there's no home to go to anymore. And I don't seem to expect a good life at all. Because before the inn burned down, I knew that's my personality. If it's that kind of personality, how would you feel if you met a stronger opponent? Mo Ying-baek immediately replied. If I met someone stronger, I would definitely go crazy. Because only when I'm crazy can I win against him. If your strength is less than your opponent's, you can only win with your madness. When fighting, everyone has to endure pain. It's just pain. You have to endure that pain if you want to win, and at some point you will feel like you have reached your limit. And then you will fall, or will you fainted here? It's not all like that, because somewhere there will be a crazy guy inside you waiting to get out. Are you afraid of failure or death? Hearing these words, Lee JaHa looked closely at Mo Ying-baek's face. Since I was young, I failed a lot, so I'm not afraid of anything. Thanks to that, I'm stronger now every day. As for life and death, when we fight, we no longer think about it. The times when he lost his soul and looked at the fire, it was not because he was afraid, but because he was aware of the madness of yourself, right? If you want to win against the strongest according to the master's words, you have to be crazy, nothing more. And then Mo Ying-baek also talked a lot, as much as Lee JaHa. In short, it boiled down to his idea. I want to ask how strong the male protagonist wants me to be. Without any hesitation about that question, He answered that he wants to become the best in the world. If so, when will you realize your dream? That? The male protagonist often replies that he doesn't know anymore. If it's 10 years from now on you don't need to do anything but just focus on cultivating for 9 years. Maybe you will decide to live like that? I don't think so, it's too boring to live like that. It's interesting to have to drink, sing, dance and fight. According to me, the master's dream is not to become a disciple. The best in the world. If it's not the best in the world, then what is it? Moying Baek Trong often said that only drinking, singing, dancing and punching each other is Lee JaHa's dream. After listening, the male lead was delighted and had a huge smile. He sighed and also realized there was some truth in that statement. This is my thoughts. What would happen if that rage only appeared if you met someone stronger? You mean I only go crazy every time I meet someone stronger? Normally, you should practice calming down your mind. That's not a bad way. So try separating your mind from the fight and see. The story started to cut off again and didn't work. Silence rushed in again. In Lee JaHa's heart, there were many lingering thoughts from the past. He always held tightly to the image of the evil demon Moying Baek from his previous life. And then the mirror this side of him doesn't seem like that person. This time I will ask you seriously what you think of a knight. Hearing the rather unrelated question, the doctor's eyes widened in surprise. A senior I know said that knights are much stronger than experts, but I cannot understand this. Thinking for a moment, Moying Baek replied that knights are not just idiots. Negate. If people who don't know how to take care of themselves are called idiots, chivalry is similar but in a larger category. Often people who risk their lives for justice are called knights. Guest. But in this world there is nothing more precious than one's own life. A person who dares to throw away such a precious thing is the stupidest of idiots. If, as you say, should we call them strong people? How can anyone be stronger than others without martial arts? A true knight will not be strong because of martial arts, but they themselves are the strongest. Lee JaHa also had to nod and mistakenly said that he was the strongest. So Moying Baek had to remind him to reconsider himself. And then, without hesitation, he said something that he had just cherished in his heart. Why didn't the master try to do it? A knight away? Can someone like me become like that? The knights of the past had to consider their background, status, and family background to be able to become one. But you are such a perfect person that there is nothing to discuss. Speaking of which, when they were young, the founders of famous sects in Jeonju were also called knights. If we consider a biography or a certain person's life when they were young, they were the founders of sects and they were called knights and retired in the mountains when they were old. After that, they continued to train many more people to become the founders of other sects, so I have heard many stories about them. Speaking coming here, I feel the difference when talking about strong knights. Then I started raising my voice again, creating an excitement for Moying Baek. He smiled with satisfaction because he thought that the master was about to become a knight. But the male lead did not agree because he understood that it was not inherently suitable for his nature. If we find someone with good intentions, if that person has the will and the spirit of righteousness, I will be ready to support him. I can teach him martial arts and provide him with everything materially. If that person can become an outstanding knight, both materially and materially, only then can we satisfy our curiosity. If so, wouldn't it be better if you directly became a knight? Our sect master is not only strong but also full of power. Lee JaHa also dismissed this thought because he is only suitable to be a bad person and there are many people who need to be killed. That is the reason why my little knight disciple will not be harmed by anyone in the future. Let's kill them. Isn't this the time for me to go kill some big devils? Then my stupid disciple can easily become a knight. After saying this sentence, both of them started to laugh because they clearly understood each other's feelings. But in reality, the viewer may not have understood anything at all. End of sentence. Jokes aside, Moying Baek has promised that in the future he will fully support the sect master and the male lead's disciples. This one will also help you find a foolish knight during this harsh time. Sir, just keep looking and I will find someone who is truly upright and honest. But if I want to cultivate a strong warrior, I must first be strong. So I will practice martial arts and sir, please take care of the medical part, then let's prepare in advance every day. Let's create the strongest fool in this world. Master, You are not a fool but a hero. The guest is right. Both of them continued to talk about stories about creating a classy knight but also being stupid. Then they moved on to another story, how the fire in his heart was still there. Is it still smoldering inside? It's still burning but it's not dangerous and it can still drive our enemies crazy. In fact, Mo Ying-baek still doesn't understand anything probably because he has too much time. That's why I sat on the pond to talk to Lee JaHa. A moment later, he also said goodbye and left. The old memories are fading and being filled with other memories. Maybe the painful memories of the past life have been erased when the male protagonist met a completely different Mo Ying-baek. My curiosity about the chivalry theory written in Memory Master's book was explained by my own way of thinking. I just need to make the chivalry it's okay for me to be stronger. Just like that, Lee JaHa wandered in the night to find the philosophy of a knight. Meanwhile, at the main headquarters of the Nanming Association, the male protagonist ran away. I went all the way here to talk to the guild master. Please wait a moment, I have announced that he will come soon. Maybe Lee JaHa is doing it this way thinking about all of you. Subordinates back home. I also have no particular interest in destroying a force of another religion, because if I do so dozens of my subordinates will die. Then my eyes of the male protagonist is gradually becoming sober and falling asleep. The prominent figures at the Nanming Association are becoming very upset because of this special guest. They can't believe it's an important meeting. So important, yet the male lead could do such a thing. While waiting for the guild master to arrive, there were countless stories surrounding him. Some people speculated that Lee JaHa was a mental patient who had just escaped from camp. Suddenly the voice broke his sleep. Is the leader of the Black Cat Union already here? A very young and handsome man, followed by a servant. Lee JaHa is paying close attention to that face that looks old before his age. In his mind, muttering, it turns out that this name is most likely known from a previous life. After sitting down, the guild master repeatedly asked who the leader of the Black Cat Union was. A subordinate enlisted pointed continuously in Lee JaHa's direction. Then the other person began to pay attention to a young man of the same age as him who was bowing his head in a corner. And then he also raised his voice as if greetings. You are the leader of the Black Cat Union, right? When he heard the other person call his name, he responded coldly. The guild master continued to show a very curious look. Your subordinates didn't come here alone, did they? That's right, today I'm the only one who came here to meet you. Why didn't you bring water and you treated distinguished guests like this? So another servant had to remind the servants to quickly prepare the teapot. Above, the head of the Nanming Association sighed and introduced his name. I am Nam Garrick, the head of the Nanming Association. And I am the leader of the Black Cat Union Lee JaHa. After greeting, a servant respectfully poured water and offered tea. Looking at the sound of water in the cup, he did not hesitate to ask directly. Did you put poison in here? Hearing the other person answer no, Lee JaHa drank it all in one go. Seeing this expression of the male lead, Nam Garrick had to speak again. Could it be that you just fell asleep here or what? Why do you dare to bring your body here alone? I heard that you have many subordinates, but if I accept your invitation, I will just come. Bringing my subordinates will only cause more trouble. The guild master's body is quite curious about this person's strange personality. He continued to ask, I heard you killed Mr. Yang Bagwai? I participated in a martial arts competition, but it was a fraudulent bet. He sent a few women to hide the spring medicine in jewelry, and then I discovered it. Martial arts competition? Does someone like this gang leader know how to fight? I went there because I heard that Dongfang Yian is very good at fighting. His nickname is even the king of the arena, but his strength is not worthy of it. Nam Garrick continuing to ask about the Mr. Yang Bak case. Before his death, he revealed that he often bribed the Nanming Association. This is very accurate, so Lee JaHa did not deny it. If so, why? Do you still dare to kill him? Given your situation, would you let him live? The male lead immediately replied that he could not deny it. Then the guild master had to ask his subordinates again if he was sure that the Black Cat gang leader came alone or not. All of the people under his command were had to nod repeatedly to confirm this. Feeling that the situation was too painful, Nam Garrick continued to inquire at Lee JaHa's place. I heard that the entire fortune built by Mr. Yang Bok was you robbed everything. What will you do with the money that the innkeeper of Hell Inn bribed? Then the male lead showed a very serious face. Do you think I was lucky because of that? Hearing this answer, the guild master didn't know what to say. What do you want, or do you want me to return the bribe money, right? Or is it that a lowly guild master like you wants to challenge me? After hearing this somewhat disrespectful sentence, another subordinate had to speak up. Why do you dare to speak to your superiors like that? Nam Garrick continued to signal his subordinates not to talk too much. Lee JaHa started to talk a lot again. I called all of them to the arena to fight a battle that your subordinates not fully reported? It was a transparent duel that was accepted in 3 minutes, and whoever won would get everything. Because I won, I got all of his assets. Anyway, that money was well earned. A lot of it comes from betting. Let me make it clear for you to understand. The previous Black Cat Union leader was also killed by me. And of course his master, Great Rakshasa, also died miserably at his hands. Why did you ask me about that money? Hearing this, Nam Garrick started to lose face because he couldn't figure out how to get the money from the dead man. But his other subordinates all had to sweat when they heard about the fights that Lee JaHa mentioned. Sitting above him, he didn't make any move that was too much with him. Then, after thinking for a while, he also affirmed that he really wanted that money. Otherwise, what is your reason for coming here? Why are you making such nonsense? I only came here because I was invited? At first, the subordinates below all expressed fear, not understanding what they meant. Looking at these cowardly guys, I had so many thoughts. After the innkeeper of Hell Inn was killed by the strongest bladesman, they did not surrender but still tried to fight to the death. They are indeed a group of loyal subordinates. So I will close my eyes and let these actions pass. Their arrogance, I always respect those who dare to risk their lives for the same loyalty. After thinking about it, he moved on to another story. I heard that the Nanming Association refused the request to join the world. The giant power of the Supreme Sword Association, and you guys also gave the same answer to the Southern Heavenly Truple. Maybe they want to maintain an independent power. Lee JaHa also said directly that he came here just out of curiosity. Those things, if you continue to refuse the requests of those two groups, a bloody battle will break out. So do you have a plan? Nam Garrick said frankly that he doesn't need to have a plan at all. Come and fight right away without fear of anyone. As expected, this crazy personality is somewhat similar to the male lead, so I'm very satisfied. A man like this is very worthy of my respect. Important. Not everyone in the white world is fair, and not everyone in the black world is as vile as Mr. Yang Bok. After hearing these words, the guild master doesn't understand what the opponent is trying to say. Speaking of opponents, we also know how to distinguish between good and bad. If the Supreme Sword Association or the Southern Heavenly Truple come to disturb our shoes, then I can help you. Hearing these words, Nam Garrick smiled happily. After that, his subordinates who didn't understand anything also laughed. What do you mean? Do we have to pay you to get your help? Lee JaHa asserted that he didn't care for those coins, because all the subordinates under his management did not force them to pay protection money and even paid them monthly salaries. What are you talking about? What the hell? Whoever wants to farm, we will give money to do farming. Whoever wants to trade, we will also give money to use as capital. We also help those who want to learn carpentry or blacksmithing. There are only the guy didn't know what to do, so he just followed me. I didn't kill too many of Mr. Yang Bok's subordinates, only about 5 to 6 people. The casino no longer exists, so they probably found another way to live. Then, having said that, the male lead also affirmed that he is not the type of person who cares about the situation of his subordinates. And he will always cheer if someone has a progressive mind. I just asked him one thing: if one day I need help, he must always be there. And above all, I asked them to gather together in the name of JaHa clan. That said, their original status: are you the master of the JaHa clan? If you say so, then so be it. Lee JaHa bluntly told Nam Garrick that if you want to fight, then fight, and if you want to join, then join. Whether you are an enemy or an ally, I will respect you. Respect your decision. But don't even think about taking back the bribe money from me, and don't try to threaten or harass my subordinates. Don't let me hear that the Nanming Association is harassing the small children. Injured people or people who don't know martial arts, all of that is an act of defiance to me. JaHa clan is just such a place, because there has never been such an organization, that's why I came here directly. To explain. What should I say? The male protagonist turned around and left without saying goodbye. He also asked the other guild master to think carefully about his words. Then he just opened the door. The door rang again. Please stop, master of JaHa clan. You must show me your strength before I can decide. Southern guild master, don't think there are a few names. If you're a subordinate here, please show your face to me. Not only did you dare to come here alone, but you also fell asleep like a crazy person. Moreover, you also spoke in a very macho manner. So Nam Garrick had a solo match to see who was better than the other, and then the company said the truth. If he lost, all the forces of JaHa clan would return under the Nanming Association's control. Of course Lee JaHa can never lose. Then he asked directly if he won, what would he get in return? There is no such thing, maybe he was talking nonsense. As soon as he finished speaking, all the subordinates in the meeting room burst out laughing. Maybe they hadn't been punched by Lee JaHa yet, so they didn't know. He himself also laughed out loud because of his attitude. Opponent's tastelessness. After that, the guild master had to remind the others not to be too rude. Some people saw Lee JaHa's laugh and looked bored. It was really creepy because that's your stupidity and myth. After listening, Nam Garrick reminded him not to be too excessive here. I'm really at a loss for words with you. Perhaps this statement has given the guild leader more motivation to fight one-to-one with the male main character. After that, everyone went out to compete to see who was stronger. The area was quite large, so perhaps this match is going to be extremely exciting. How do you want to fight? Nam Garrick spoke up. It depends on the person because I'm good at everything, whoever is confident will play that way. That's the meeting. The owner had to think carefully about which card to play properly. Just looking closely at the person's face, I just wanted to punch him. After hearing this young man became angry because it was impossible. Responding to Lee JaHa's foul mouth. Because that's the case, I will use my rights to fight that person. After all, this is the first time fighting each other. I have to punch the referee in the face, only then will my subordinates be satisfied. You bastard, this guy has truly lost his mind. Your senseless and empty words have made your opponent's mood become negative. Control. He gradually walked forward and immediately rushed forward. Just like that, one punch was mistakenly right at the male lead's face but was missed. The second shot was no worse than the first shot. The first thing was all in the air. Nam Garrick followed him closely like a shadow without a moment's rest. Because it was so hard to breathe, the male lead had to always dodge to avoid being approached. After that he flew up high to see if he knew how to fly. Then he immediately jumped up and chased after. Just like that, both of them pushed each other from one corner to another. After a while, they got bored, so they fought internally to see who was more abundant. In just a blink of an eye, a huge explosion rang out, making the public unable to understand the situation inside. After a while, Lee JaHa's animation still stood still without a problem. As for Nam Garrick, it seems that he has been pushed back a bit. His face has become tense at this time, still mixed with a bit of pretending to be an old person. The male lead's heart is deep at this time, feeling very interesting when meeting an opponent who is not very weak. So he started to make a few lines to let it know what the sun is. While dancing with his arms and legs, he also had to remind him cleverly. Let the head of the Nanming Association know. Nam Garrick, please take care because I will fight seriously. As he said it, Lee JaHa also had a very serious face, not knowing how his opponent would respond. Here. Without waiting for him to say anything, he immediately shot straight forward. Not only that, but his hands became fiery, radiating a lot of internal energy. During this time Nam Garrick seemed to be lying in a passive position. He quickly stretched out his hand to block the male lead's extremely powerful attack. Just touching it, his whole body was pushed away. More. The confident face like at the beginning was gone and instead looked very confused. In just a blink of an eye Lee JaHa continued to scream and jumped in again. That's why, but he was unable to defend himself in time. After that, he could only raise his hands to defend. Another loud explosion rang out, this time even louder than before. Countless tanks. The crowd was so dizzy that they couldn't see anything. The sounds of coughing and coughing that kept resounding were probably Nam Garrick's. Lee JaHa's mood was still as calm as before. His complexion changed. The head of the Nanming Association was gritting his teeth because he had just received a document. Even though he had just been punched, his performance was not bad. Just thinking about this, male protagonist still leisurely flying forward to make a few more passes to make it dizzy. Just like that, he continuously punched and kicked all over the opponent's weak positions. Nam Garrick himself also tried very hard to resist and fight back. But maybe he won't be able to stand it any longer. Because at this point the male lead has repeatedly beaten him until he's about to burst into smoke. Look at his expression. Just this, countless subordinates have continuously commented a lot. Did our guild master just receive a blow from him at that time? The current situation of the head of the Nanming Association is very serious. Is very poor. Inside, he was suffering from Lee JaHa's attacks but felt so tired. Maybe after this match, he won't dare to lie anymore. On the other side, this is the same as always. Lee JaHa once again used the crystal absorption technique to pull the opponent back for easy punching. Seeing the animation of the giant hand, his eyes became scared. When you get into this situation, even if you want to fight, you can't fight, and even if you want to retreat, you can't do it. Once again, explosions keep ringing out in succession. And this time, Nam Garrick he could no longer stand firm like the previous two times. His whole body was thrown into the air and then fell hard to the ground. And even more serious, he was vomiting blood from his mouth. Seeing this scene, the remaining subordinates were looking very worried about the guild master. But because of his honor and dignity, he immediately stood up. Then he took the sword and unsheathed. Quickly take out your sword to fight me again. I told you to unsheath your sword, leader of JaHa clan. Maybe Lee JaHa felt too much. I'm tired of fighting with it. But out of respect for being a fellow leader of two forces, I agreed. The sword in the distance flew straight towards its owner. Although it was simple, it's so simple, but this is extremely difficult for them. At first, he also took out the sword from its sheath. But this style is extremely classy and cannot be criticized. There are so many ideas. Thoughts are focused on his current appearance. The look of him pulling out his sword looks even scarier than our guild master. Both sides have thrown their swords straight at each other's faces but still haven't done anything. Lee JaHa continued to tease him to death. Are you prepared to give your life to your guild master? Hearing these words, his trusted juniors had to gently dissuade him. I want to compete again. Looking at his face like this, I probably won't. The power of Lee JaHa's sword radiates tremendously. Then Nam Garrick swallowed his saliva and breathed long. Then he put away his weapon. It seems there's no need to fight anymore because we've already lost. Maintaining a calm attitude like that is also a kind of skill, so let's finish just nice. Hearing these words, his opponent could not respond. Lee JaHa kept looking back and forth to see if the opponent was injured or anything. Then he turned around and left without forgetting. Goodbye, see you again. Why did he leave even though he won without asking anything? Nam Garrick also proactively spoke up and invited him to stay for a bowl of melon rice and a cup of light wine. It's strange that the male lead refused today until next time. We'll figure it out later. Which one? Hearing that, he also paused and reminded. Just like before, JaHa clan is still the same, but Nanming Association is also Nanming Association. The subordinates stood and watched but still could not understand the leader of the Black Cat Gang. What else does the union say? If you have a chance, let's fight again. In the future, whoever wants to fight each other, just come find me. And if you honestly come out to fight as the guild master, I welcome it. As I was about to fly back to the area, I seemed to remember something and spoke up again. If you're being harassed by the Supreme Sword Association or the Southern Heavenly Troople, just find JaHa clan. How can you help? For us? It's simple, I'll fight with them. After listening, Nam Garrick thought to himself, does he really want to help me? In fact, Lee JaHa knew about his past life and his death. What is he like? So I want to see what this guy will choose. I don't want to force myself to change any sect's fate. If Nam Garrick changes his decision, then his destiny will also change. What if that rage only appears when you meet someone stronger? So as he left, Lee JaHa continued to hum the lyrics that gave the audience goosebumps. Peaceful like the surface of the river, peaceful like the surface of the river, angry with me like the great sea, the rising fury flowing inside me. Just like that I wandered around the streets with the incomprehensible mood of a crazy person. During this time, nothing happened to Lee JaHa. I picked up everything including the pieces of profound iron at Mr. Yang Bok's place to give to Kum Chu Liang to forge a classy weapon. As for the two newly recruited maids, Baek So-ah and Hyuk Soryong, they have gone to apprentice at Moying Baek. If those two don't study well, they will return to the Black Cat Union. As for your place, Father Sung Tae, after living nearly 20 years of misfortune, has now developed very well with his master, Huyan Chung. In addition, all the other weak subordinates are focusing on cultivating under the guidance of Huyan Chung. So Gunpyeong's direction. A pathetic person like me is surrounded by a group of pathetic people. Just like that, time still passes smoothly. Meanwhile, the male lead is focusing on practicing like every day. Suddenly, a subordinate rushed over to inform him of something. I don't understand what's so urgent that old Byuk is so careless. The general manager, this is the person who has been living in that dark underworld for more than 20 years. Is something going on with our great strategist? Hearing his beloved name calling him like that, he became very emotional. I was about to say poor manager Byuk, but I suddenly drifted off in my thoughts and accidentally said no. No. Putting aside those erratic emotions, Byuk said something very important. I have found someone who looks like you described. The position is a bit dangerous. That's where the young masters of the White Eagle martial arts family often gather, White Eagle Town. I found him lying under a tree on the side of the road right in the center of the bustling capital. It's truly miraculous. Yet you found him? After hearing the description of the gang leader, his subordinates sent people to famous houses in the White Dao Force, which is where the most flirtatious people often come to listen to news. Listen, after finishing this story, the male lead seemed quite satisfied with the way the general manager worked. However, he still wanted to confirm one more time to reaffirm the goal. Before that, the job was completed, but the disciple who went to investigate was seriously injured. Hearing that his disciple had a bruised face and broken limbs, Lee JaHa was quite angry. He asked about it. From his position, we know that the person's name is Him Gong Chol. If that's the case, then of course I will avenge him Gong Chol. Left hand of illuminating light comes from the power of the white path and his strength is not average. Considering the position of the left hand of illuminating light in magic and his martial arts, we can call him a genius. Thinking about this, I also assigned one more task to old Byuk. Please go to Moying Clinic and ask Moying Baek about the poison and antidote for me. The subordinate felt a bit curious. The male lead explained that he only needed to mention the laxative medicine. Then Mr. Moying will automatically understand. Is that so? If so, then I will run to prepare immediately. Speaking of illuminating light, Lee JaHa decided to either make him a subordinate or to kill him immediately. Because I refuse to let him step into the demon religion. If this and the other methods fail, I will stomp on his things and make him Cha Sung Tae. Just that way, women in the white path will not be abused. You white path women don't know how I have changed your lives. The male lead insists that he will pray for that handsome guy. This story was also heard by Father Sung Tae and he became panicked. I wonder what Lee JaHa's younger brother is thinking about. Just like that, he mumbled in the corner of the morning and practiced continuously. The positions were all about hitting the lower body. Just hitting here, punching there, kicking there, it was all crazy. Cha Sung Tae and the master became confused because of the master's expression. Lee JaHa continued to channel his energy and emitted tremendous internal force. He continuously danced his apricot madly, temporarily calling this move ancient magic attack like that. With a powerful punch, he hit the corner of a perennial tree. Just looking at this scene, no one wanted to disobey the master's words anymore. In the end, Lee JaHa did it. Sigh deeply. I have a headache thinking about the relatively strong character in the Demon Sect from my previous life. Maybe in this life I will try to manipulate him. Left hand of illuminating light, who knows when I will see you again. White Eagle Town is the gathering place of the young descendants of the White Path. This place they often come to meet, chat, drink and argue, sometimes also is a place to fight. It is also a place to listen to the common signal of life. There are many pathetic people in the Black Path and the White Path is not inferior, Those with great ambitions rush headfirst and carry their bags. Practice martial arts every day. But there are also people who spend all day drinking and hanging around women, but their martial arts skills are not inferior to anyone else. They were born with priority, and this world nothing is inherently fair. Lee JaHa chose a really handsome outfit for himself to have fun in White Eagle Town. He is looking forward to the opportunity to meet the illegitimate son of the Phong Van Mong family. I wonder how strong he is now. Thanks to the return of the Heavenly Pearl, I am so strong. A son of the White Path must step by step practice martial arts. Of course, how can he catch up with me? Thinking at this point, he put down his cup of wine and walked downstairs. Then he started wandering outside to explore the surrounding situation. It seems like today is an important day, for so a lot of people gathered. Not only that, but there were also countless women performing right on the street. He didn't care much about this for the male lead. The look in his eyes, constantly searching everywhere to find that beautiful name. Then, if you have the strength to sharpen iron, you will also sharpen your knife one day. Nearby there is a silhouette that looks very similar to the person Lee JaHa needs to find. The scene looks so poetic when both boys and girls are sparklingly beautiful. The male lead's eyes widened and immediately recognized that it was Left Hand of Illuminating Light. In his mind, he understood that this name was just Eat and Go. Only with girls. I knew he was a flirt who always looks for women, but like this it's really impossible to swallow. From today I will temporarily be a knight, such a righteous hand. For the strong master of martial arts and innocent people, so the poem teaches all righteousness. For all the ugly men in this world, and also for all white Dao. Thinking like that, Lee JaHa was very determined in his heart. His determination here is to be as pure as possible to beat that woman killer. Lee JaHa, I returned to the past, is to cut off Illuminating Light's little guy. As I was masturbating here, a young lady ran up to announce. The young master over there wants to invite you to drink a cup of wine. You won't regret it. Where are you drinking with that gentleman? There's also another woman over there. It's very fun for men and women to drink together. I know it's cool, but Lee JaHa still doesn't I understand why you invited me. Because among the guests here, you are the most handsome. After hearing that, he started whispering in his head, you dare to invite me to drink with you, you bastard. This guy doesn't talk bad, he looks smart and even knows how to flatter me. There's no need for the male lead to come. Illuminating Light took the initiative right away. Brothers, let's drink together. Is a glass of wine okay? The woman accompanying him also spoke up. Soul Awe didn't even go in to entertain the young man. Before the woman spoke, she kept checking to see if there was anything valuable on Lee JaHa's body. No. After a while, she also spoke clearly, this young lady is pleased to serve you. What a bunch of crazy people. If you like, I will indulge. Having said that, Lee JaHa also wants to know the smell. What is a girl, because I haven't been able to do anything in 2 lifetimes. Let's see how spoiled this brat will be. After that, the 4 of us found a pub right on the side of the road to hang out. Drinking together. Soul Awe is always proactive and wants to get to know Lee JaHa. Illuminating Light also asked the male lead because he thought this was his first time coming. No male came. I'm just like the eldest because here are all women. Let's just be comfortable like friends of the same age. This is senior brother Mong Rang and the young lady's name is So Wall. Just having said that, don't forget to implicitly introduce the person sitting next to Lee JaHa as Soul Awe. I wonder where this handsome young man comes from. Just a quick listen and the male lead knows that these guys are using fake name. Without thinking about it, he just lied. I am Guang Chulyi and Gong Chulyi's senior brother. Soul Awe inquired and found out that Guang Chulyi was the senior brother. But Illuminating Light has destroyed that privacy perfectly. He raised the cup of 10 dong wine. Only after we get drunk do we reveal our true nature as men and women. Having finished speaking, he drank all 4 drinks at once and then drained them without leaving a single drop. As soon as he drank, Lee JaHa appeared very cautious. He knew that those 2 weak willows were also martial arts practitioners. What's the matter, Soul Awe? Does she like Guang Chulyi? Because she had a bit of vinegar in her body, she didn't deny it. If she said so, where should we go after drinking today? After saying that, looking at Soul Awe's shy appearance, Illuminating Light burst out laughing. Did something happen or did they say something to each other just now? Then the other man asked permission to leave for 5 minutes and then came back to say permission again. So Wall looked very carefully and immediately understood. Then she also asked permission to leave to let the male lead and Sol Ah confide. Suddenly Lee JaHa forcefully held the woman's hand. What an old man with no experience in flirting with girls at all. Besides, look like a murderer. Can my Sol Ah drink a little more? By the way, he chased Illuminating Light's girlfriend away. So the poetic atmosphere returned to melancholy. Why do I feel so cold? Sol Ah said meaningfully. Before he could finish his sentence, the male lead immediately pressed a few acupuncture points. He started taking out the medicine from his body to stop being a gangster. Then he mixed it all into the cup of that woman. This is the medicine that Mo Ying Beck prepared. It is colorless and odorless anti-nausea medicine. Even though I have been wandering around for many years, this is the first time I have used anti-nausea medicine. Something like this. I'm very stressed having to use this terrible thing. If you want to take the antidote, you have to answer me and then I will be detoxified, do you understand? I don't understand what the hell is this situation anymore. Lee JaHa is proving to be a very tricky person when he poured it all into the other two people's cups. A moment later, Illuminating Light and his girlfriend arrived. Finished in a blink. He seemed quite surprised because the atmosphere suddenly felt like a funeral. At first, Lee JaHa took on a thug voice and didn't hesitate anymore. Hey senior brother, living off your nose is no different than that bastard. You're planning on letting a countryman like me pay for the drinks and run away, right? Don't think I'm a child. Why are you talking such nonsense? I didn't expect that I would have to listen to harsh words from a countryman like you. It's very possible that these were Lee JaHa's purposeful words. He drank all the wine in the cup and then placed it on the table. Illuminating Light was acting cautious as if he didn't really want to drink. Finally, when he saw So Wall drinking, he smoked too. As soon as he landed, he was curious about what was wrong with Sol Ah. Because I misunderstood it and wanted to run away, I only touched a few acupuncture points. Your suspicions are useless, so hurry up and remove her acupuncture points. I'm just a countryman, so I don't know anything. What is an acupuncture point release? Before I could finish the sentence, Illuminating Light proactively rushed forward to remove the layer of oppression for that beauty. Then I don't understand why it couldn't be done. The incident it got more serious when Sol Ah gasped and lay down on the table. So Wall, please take care of yourself and pay attention to Sol Ah. Having said that, Illuminating Light signaled Lee JaHa to leave. Went out to start a private conversation. Very quickly both of them wandered back out to prepare for a very fierce competition. It seems like you came here to watch me, right? I'm already fed up with people like you, who sent them. The male lead only replied that it was because of Gong Chul Yi, you broke your arm in a short way. Hearing that, Little White only then did he vaguely remember what happened. While grinning, suddenly his body began to change. Illuminating Light sensed that change, so he was very worried. His face started to change. Your head is all wrinkled up, you bastard, how dare you poison me? Now Lee JaHa is grinning because he's so happy.